Welcome back to The Perspective on Berita Satu. I'm Blaise Hope with Pri Notowidigdo of Amrop. We've spoken about Amrop and executive search and generalities. Can you speak a bit more in our final segment about what you do to assess people?
Okay. One of the things that well, I'll take it on two levels then. So the first is when we do assessment, we have what's called there's one method we use called the STAR method. The STAR method is S is an acronym for situation. What's the situation? What's the task? What's the action? And what's the result? So in normal interviewing sometimes, or in traditional interviewing, we're asking people how. What do they think about this and what do they think about that? And if they're an articulate person and they're their intelligence, I mean, they can create a nice concept. But what we're trying to do when we're interviewing people, we're trying to see to what extent they have the potential and the wherewithal in order to be able to actually fit with the organization and give a contribution. So with that STAR thing, it's basically the behavioral approach, and we're asking, okay, Blaise, for example, give me an example of integrity in your past life, something that you did which reflect integrity in terms of explain the situation where you applied that, what was the task that you had to do in order to demonstrate integrity, what is the action that you took, and then what was the result of that, and in terms of the impact on the organization as well as the impact individually. So that's one aspect, and we found that doing that, people actually, the ones who are true to themselves and true to their values, they'll be able to respond to that very well. And the ones who are not, you can see they start to struggle, and then you can actually zero in on certain points, because you're basically looking and asking them, what is it about their past behavior because past behavior will predict to some extent future behavior. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect. The second way of assessing it, we use psychometric evaluation, which is fascinating. For me, in my generation, we never did that. But psychometric evaluation, it takes about, let's say, half an hour to do this psychometric questionnaire. And then the computer generates a response, which can be anywhere from 10 to 55 pages, and a very personalized response. And it can adjust to address your general management approach or certain aspects of what you do, whether it's human resources or marketing or whatever. And we don't use that to select, but we use that actually just to reinforce and what we've observed.
You've usually already identified the traits that...
That's right, and often we see that, and it gets reinforced, and then it adds a different value, or added value to this. We find that in Indonesia, the market is very receptive to this, because it's quick. You can, with a computer-generated report, it can be generated within 15 minutes to half an hour, and then it's all personalized, and it's got graphs and so forth. So it provides a quotation mark quantitative approach. And we always encourage, don't use this as a selection process, but use it as a performance development, or as a way to reinforce
a piece of circumstantial evidence.
That's right.
Around the major. That's right.
Yeah. Now, for example, if we find out, so in a case, I recently placed a COO for an Australian family business, and what came out was that excellent technical skills and knowledge, but how he delivered the message, was not good. It had a negative impact.
It didn't encourage people.
It didn't encourage people. In fact, people became very defensive. So for just to give you a simple example, when my wife Yanti, I'm working away at something, and then my wife Yanti suddenly is at the computer, and my wife Yanti suddenly asks me, Mas Pri, do you love me? And then I'll say, yeah, I love you. That's giving the wrong message. The message is I'm busy or I don't love you. So what should I do at that point, Blaze? Let me ask you.
Text flowers?
No, I close the computer, I face her, and then I just say, yes, I love you, or I just hug her, right?
Focus on her.
Embrace her, focus on her. You know, so again, this is about how you communicate often has more importance than what you communicate. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
So it's Marshall McLuhan, the late Marshall McLuhan, he was called the grandfather of communication, a Canadian guy, and you know, he said in the 60s during the hippies period, the message is, the medium is the message. Yeah. How you communicate is actually the message. And this led with the gentleman I told you about, the COO, then my client said to me, can you provide executive coaching? And I said, sure. And what is executive coaching? You know, it's basically giving him feedback about, you know, the area that he's needs to develop, and helping him out through a process of, in this case, it was a process of 6 sessions every 2 weeks. And my model there is to use what we call the GROW model. You know, so what are the goals that he wants? What are the results? What are of the things he's doing? What are the options that he can do in order to address that? And then the W is coming back and turning it around again. You know? Yeah. So this is something that has become very popular as well in Indonesia, and you're seeing an increase in executive coaching, and a lot of courses also in certified coaching and so forth. Yeah. So that's a way to complement executive search, a way to complement executive education. And it's a good way to develop yourself both personally and professionally.
But Pri, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Perspective. Final words, we've got a few seconds left.
Well, my only final words, and I wish that I could, I wish I was good at memorizing, but as I get older, you know, I'm not good at the memorizing thing. But there was a quote from T.S. Eliot,